Hey, this is Annex, and in this tutorial, I'm going to go over how I actually play something out, not the full thing, because you can watch me playing the full live sets in other videos, but I'll just talk about how I go through the process of moving down from one session to another in Ableton Live, and I'm using the push to do that. So this is I think it's the fourth live set that I have on YouTube. And it's all set up like this. I will do another tutorial about how I arrange each of these tracks, each of these complementary instruments with each other, but that'll be for later. So now I'm just going to talk about more the features of the push and the features of the session view and how they're complementary with the tracks I put in and with the clips I put in. And I hope you can ignore my fan. It's kind of doing something at the moment. That's what that sound is. So we're in session view, and remember that everything we see here on the push, it mirrors everything that we see in that red box. See up here in session view. So we're going to focus on the first group here. In this live set, I have a number of groups. So ignore these 3 tracks on the right, but these 6 groups here are what I call my songs. And then when I've recorded that, so I'm in session view right now, and when I recorded that, it makes my 5 songs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is created in arrangement view when I'm playing in the session view but recording it. So this is recording everything it hears when I'm playing it live. And this recorded version is what I'm going to master and what I'm going to tweak and what I can add automation envelopes to, because it's not as easy to do that in session view. But there is an option in Ableton Live 10 now. So I'm back in my session view. And I double clicked on one of these clips. This is one of my vocal layers. And it opens up the waveform here. Now what you're used to seeing is this sample properly if you use Ableton. It shows you the loop length and how you can transpose it. But there's also this little option down at the bottom left to do the envelope. And when I open that envelope up, it's going to give me different plugins or different effects I have on that track. So on this vocal track, and then I can click on them. So this is my Fab Filter limiter. I'll go over what that is probably in another session because there's a lot to talk about. So this is one of the plugins I have, and we want to affect the gain on the filter. So it's really nice because a lot of it is recognized already. So sometimes you have to go in and open the effects and then turn the knob with your mouse, and then it recognizes it down here as something you want to adjust. But for this Fab Filter, it sees it already, and you just make a automation envelope here. So that's the same as making an automation envelope like this. Just this is on your recorded view, on your arrangement view, and this is on your clips. Anyway. So we're going to play this out, and what we're seeing on the push here is mirrored, as I said, but we don't want this first column. It's not very useful to us. See, everything's lit up, and this first column now, because I grouped this first track, we're going to discuss this first track, is equivalent to this, each of these sessions on the right that we see in the repeat. They double as the repeat intervals on the push. So we're going to move it over 1. So I'm working in this, you see it's up here. I'm going to slide it over 1, so this arrow to the right, and then it gets rid of that. And I have my kicks, and trigger/kick on the left because I combined my bass and my kicks into this one track, into this one column, because then I can kind of remember which section I'm at. In the songs that I make, they're a lot of the times denoted, like delimited by the presence of bass or not, in the presence of a kick or bass. So for example, the introduction usually has minimal bass or no bass. The build-up would start having bass, and then the apex or the refrains are what you're going to have the kicks on, and that's going to have the kick plus the bass. So if we look to the right here, so this is what I want to see. I have a lot of the things in view here that I want to work with. On this master track here, we can affect the BPM as well. So we're looking at session view here on the top right, and I want to start this session at 205 beats per minute. And we can see double check that is correct because we have this 205 as our tempo here. It's the same as if you recorded all this and then you wanted to automate your tempo in the master, which I did apparently at the end. So I just, recorded this. So I recorded the tempo increases as I went through the songs. And these tempo increases are on this master track here. I think I fine-tuned it a little bit at some of these points. Okay, so the first row is easy. We know we're going to trigger the first session to start. So once that's playing, I had my own little system here, and the next two rows say add. So when I'm pressing this, I want to add this on the next 4 bar counts.
But this is the most powerful thing that can be done. Surrender. And love is an act of surrender to another person. Total abandon.
Okay, so anyway, that's what I mean by add here. So I'm still having the first session playing. I'm not triggering a new session completely. I'm just adding these clips on top. And this, when I say add here, this is what I want to for sure add on top, because I know I want these 4 sets of vocals in the time that I trigger it on. And these effects are things that I can, like here, oops, stop this, bottom right, stop. So these are little effects that I can add in. So it doesn't really matter when I play these effects, although usually it sounds better to the end of a bar or the end of a 4 or 8 bar section. But it does matter to me when I add these instruments and when I add the vocals, because those have a melody and I want them to line up with what's playing so it's harmonious. I made another tutorial about how to do chords, chord progressions, melodies, and harmonies in Ableton with the push 2, that if you want to learn more about that, you can look at that. So what I also like about the session view is you can do like colors with the triggers. So here I mirrored the start of each new song in white, because I made remember here we grouped this whole song into one here. So I'm saying, okay, white is the start of a new song, it's song number 1, and this is the tempo change. And as soon as you write BPM after a number on the session view, it knows, okay, tempo change, and it does it for you. When I have a new trigger in this project, I set it up as blue, so just remembering that I'm triggering here. And then that's the next thing I want to trigger. And then on top of that, I have these effects. Okay, so once I go over that in whatever, like 8 or 16 bars, then I have my kick. And in my newer stuff, I have build-ups, but I don't in this one. If I had a build-up, I would make another row, like right-click and insert scene, calls it kick 1, but I would just rename it. So I would go Control R. It's in caps lock, but usually it wouldn't be. So I would call it my build up. I would remind myself how many bars the build up is. And it matters more for the build up how many bars because I'm going to have a riser. Oh, deleted that for some random reason. Anyway. So pretend that's still there. We're going to say it's over a certain number of bars because the riser will be set to reach its apex, like the loudest, most excited point at the end of that bar. And exactly after that, you want to have the kick come in. So it matters more for risers. Yeah, your timing like that. So then I have the kick here. And I always want to trigger the kicks because I always know it's a definitive section. So I go to find this, I'm going down, 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 and when I'm playing, so when I'm going through this live set, I'm scrolling just with these top buttons here. So I can keep going down, 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 and remember where I am here with respect to what's in the session view. So here I see the top row is my kick, and I remember, okay, because I have this red, we're starting a new section. It's going to have either a different bass, no bass, or a kick. So I'm going to trigger this. Great. So this triggers the kick. It also triggers these vocals. I have 2 sets of boys singing the same things. It also triggers these oohs here. And all of these things are loops. So this ooh is on a 16 bar loop. So are these, this boys choir. But the way this is shown here, so it starts playing here. Oh, that's not what I want. So it starts playing at 1 here because that's where this is, but when it goes back and loops, it's only going to loop the last 16 bars. So if I went here, it's going to start playing later on. And then it's only going back to the last half of that section. And that makes a difference if you want to make a clip that kind of escalates in energy and keep that energy up at the end while you're building on some other element in the song. Okay, so then I have my kicks. I have the basic melodies and instruments that I'm triggering at the same time as my kicks because I decided I want those for sure. And then I'm adding things on top of it. So usually I do kicks that are 16 bars in a row. This isn't looped because I'm just going to do it again here. So for the first 8 bars of that kick, I'm just going to have something easy or some percussion, but then I want to build more energy into the next 8 bars. So from bar like 1 to 9, I just have this, and then from bar 9 to 16, I'm going to add the arpeggiator here. And I do that the same way as I was triggering the FX. Okay, so you can make like a really cool layered sound like that by starting them not all on the same 4-bar counts, but starting some 2 bars in, 4 bars in. You just have to be a little careful with the EQing because you can overlap the frequencies sometimes, and that might make it sound not so clean. Just depends what's going on. So yeah, I denote the kick with a gray, and again, so this is my first 16 bar kick loop, and then I do it again. So I have the same second half, so it has a little more a little more 8th and 16th notes and triplet kicks going on than the other one did, as we're building energy again over the whole course of that 32 bar kick. And then I'm adding some other instruments to it. So I'm gonna trigger here. And I missed the timing of that boys because I set it to 1/4 or 1/2 here, and now since I made this I do it on 1/4, so that's why the timing was off. You really get used to doing it one way, and then if you change anything you have to retrain yourself, but the system works. So you hear at the end of this the 16 bar loop, which is the end of the 32 bar kick part, that I'm building a little more interest, and then we have some closure at the end. Once we go up and then down in energy. And then always once that happens, I'm going to trigger again. So I'm going to trigger this TR. And then what I added here, so I added the arpeggiator, arpeggio, I don't know. I added the arp as a FX. So this didn't really matter if I added it on beat 1, 2, 3, because it kind of fits in everywhere. So it's the same as if I were adding like this little effects. So these little effects rows, as I mentioned, it doesn't matter where you throw them in. That's my process anyway. Yeah, so that's the gist of it basically. And I have that set up for each of the songs. So here you look across and up, and this session notes, the session sessions, they correspond to whatever tracks they hit on the column. And I can even play this while they're collapsed, so I can, okay, this one is 220, so I start by hitting here. And then we see the tempo changes. Yeah, so you can even play them when you collapse them all like this. And since I made this, I lost some of my limiters and my EQ, so that's why it doesn't sound so great. But yeah, if you want to hear the whole thing and watch me play it too with a session view in my screen, you can look at the video on YouTube. So I hope you found that helpful. If you want to learn anything else, leave it in the comments, and if I know how to do it, I can hopefully do another tutorial on it.